Sri Krishna Chaitanya Prabhu Nityananda Shri Advaita Gadadhar Srivasari Gaur Bhaktivinoda Hare Krishna 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 Hare 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 Ram 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 Hare Hare. Today we're going to discuss a story about an incarnation of Krishna named Parasurama. Interestingly, he's being chastised by his father. His father's name is Jamadagani. I want to find the story. Somehow or other, my database decided to stop working on my computer. So, we have a tablet. We're going to read and discuss this story. Because the story is so interesting, because it's a story about forgiveness. Excuse me. It's amazing. This is amazing because Parasurama is a Shaktivesh avatar. And the Shaktivesh avatar is being asked by his father, or being chastised by his father for doing something, for taking revenge. Shaktivesh means he's empowered. He is empowered by Krishna. He's a powerful Kshatriya. And you see him sometimes? Picture Parasurama with the chopper. One of the 10 incarnations of God, and still he's being chastised. That is outrageous. Isn't it? So if you just give me a moment, my database decided it's not going to work anymore. You know how that happens? Now, this database, hold on a second. Getting a slow start. I went to bed very late last night in preparation for leaving today, so give me a moment to capture myself. I spelt it wrong. So, hopefully, it's going to come up. Hold on. Sorry for this. I didn't have time to prepare. I'm leaving later today. And I was up almost till 1 o'clock last night. Excuse me for that, for being... okay, we found it. Okay. I forgot that yes. It's the 9th canto, 15th chapter. So... now I have to find out where the story starts. Because we don't need to read the entire chapter, we wouldn't have time to discuss the story. So just give me a moment. Gives everyone time to come to class, right? Because I'm so spaced out. And I'm assuming you can hear everything correctly, right? Mm. Going down the line of kings, and the father of Parasurama, his name is Jamadagani. Anyway, let's read a little history here. I'm going to start on text 8. It's nice to read the Bhagwatam together. So I will start on text 8. And then we'll discuss as necessary. So this is, I don't know the chapter now. What did I say? 9:15? Is that correct? I have to go back, yes. 9:15, and then we'll start on text 8. I'll need to end the class within an hour because I have to get ready to go. When King Gadhi made this demand, okay, what's the demand? King Gadhi had a daughter named Satyavati, whom a Brahmana sage named Richika requested from the king to be his wife. King Gadhi, however, regarded Richika as an unfit husband for his daughter, and therefore he told the Brahmin, "My dear sir, I belong to the dynasty of Kusha. Because we are aristocratic Kshatriyas, you have to give some dowry for my daughter. Therefore, bring at least 1,000 horses, each as brilliant as moonshine, and each having one black ear, whether right or left." I guess that was to dissuade him. The son of King Gadhi was Vishwamrita, who is said to be a Brahmin and Kshatriya combined. Vishwamrita attained the status of a Brahmin, as explained later. From the marriage of Satyavati with Richika Muni would come a son with the spirit of a Kshatriya. King Gadhi demanded that an uncommon request be fulfilled before the Brahmin Richika could marry his daughter. I guess he was willing that they would marry. So this is the... When King Gadhi made this demand, the great sage Richika could understand the king's mind. Therefore he went to the demigod Varuna and brought from him the 1,000 horses that Gadhi had demanded. After delivering these horses, the sage married the king's beautiful daughter. Thereafter, Richika Muni's wife and mother-in-law, each desiring a son, requested the Muni to prepare an oblation. Thus Richika Muni prepared one oblation for his wife with a Brahmana mantra and another for his mother-in-law with the Kshatriya mantra. Then he went out to bathe. This oblation would cause them 9:15, 8. Well, now we're on 9:15. That was just 8. These oblations would cause pregnancy. Meanwhile, because Satyavati's mother thought that the oblation prepared for her daughter, Richika's wife, must be better, she asked her daughter for that oblation. Satyavati therefore gave her own oblation to her mother and ate her mother's oblation herself. Okay, did you get lost on that? Let's go back. We may not be following that story. But let's go back. Once upon a time, King Gadhi had a daughter named Satyavati. Okay, write that down. King Gadhi had a daughter named Satyavati. I get confused sometimes. And there was a Brahmin sage named Richika, and he requested to have the daughter, Satyavati, but they're Kshatriyas and he's a Brahmin. So the king said, "You're unfit." King Gadhi told Richika, "You're unfit." But if you want to marry my daughter, you have to give some dowry. And you remember the dowry? 100, how many horses? 1,000? At least 1,000, as brilliant as moonshine, and they have to have one black ear. So King Gadhi made a demand to Richika. If you want to marry my daughter Satyavati, you have to bring at least 1,000 horses. Brilliant as moonshine. Okay. Now, the son of King Gadhi was Vishwamrita. So this... okay, so King Gadhi makes the demand and Richika goes to Varuna to get the 100 horses. Got that? So far, so good? Okay. He's actually going to fulfill the demand, so he's powerful. Vichika. It's actually Vichika. Yes. So, the demand was filled. It doesn't describe the wedding, but in the next verse, which is verse 8, it describes that they're married. So, because Vichika's wife, who is Vichika's wife again? Satyavati. And his mother-in-law, they both wanted a son. In other words, not that he would impregnate his mother-in-law, I don't think, I hope not. Satyavati said, I want a son, prepare an oblation. That would allow me to have a specific kind of son. And the mother-in-law also requested an oblation. So Vichika Muni prepared one oblation for his wife, and he chanted a Brahman mantra, because he's a Brahmin. And he chanted, for his mother-in-law, he chanted Kshatriya mantra. Apparently, his mother wanted a Kshatriya. And so they had two oblations. Oblations are something they would drink, okay? Because Satyavati's mother thought that the oblation prepared for her daughter. No, I think that, oh yeah, maybe it means that, not that she wanted, his mother-in-law wanted a son. And so the oblation was for her. That's what it seems like. Because Satyavati's mother thought that the oblation prepared for her daughter, Vichika's wife, must be better, she asked her daughter for that oblation. Satyavati therefore gave her own oblation to her mother and ate her mother's oblation herself. Yes, her mother wanted a son. So her mother thought the oblation that was given to Satyavati was better. So they switched. She said, give me yours is better. So they switched. The husband naturally has some affection for his wife, therefore Satyavati's mother thought that the oblation prepared for Satyavati by the sage Vichika must have been better than her own. In Vichika's absence, the mother took the better oblation from Satyavati and ate it. I'm sure Vichika wouldn't have approved. Okay, so let's see what happens. The story's getting exciting. When the great sage Vichika returned home after bathing and understood what had happened, either he understood or he was told. Understood by mystic power, he was told. He said to his wife Satyavati, you have done a great wrong. Your son will be a fierce Kshatriya, able to punish everyone. And your brother will be a learned scholar in spiritual science. Well, Satyavati, however, pacified Vichika Muni with peaceful words and requested that her son not be like a fierce Kshatriya. Vichika Muni replied, then your grandson will be of Kshatriya spirit. Thus Jamadagani was born as the son of Satyavati. So Jamadagani did not have Kshatriya spirit, but his son, who is Parasurama, he had Kshatriya spirit. So that's the history of the birth of Parasurama. It is indicated here that the son of Jamadagani would be born as Parasurama. So it's a Brahminical lineage. His father's a Brahmin, his grandfather's a Brahmin, but his wife's a Kshatriya, and then she took the Kshatriya oblation, and the Kshatriya spirit was going to not enter Jamadagni, his father. But Jamadagni considered his son a Brahmin, or within the Brahminical culture, as we'll see later, and it's interesting what happens. Okay. Satyavati later became the sacred river Kaushiki to purify the entire world, and her son Jamadagni married Renuka, the daughter of Renu. By the semen of Jamadagni, many sons headed by Vasuman were born from the womb of Renuka. The youngest of them was named Rama or Parasurama. Su means especially, Para means supreme. The learned scholars accept this Parasurama as the celebrated incarnation of Vasudeva, who annihilated the dynasty of Kartavir Arjun. Parasurama killed all the Kshatriyas on earth 21 times. When Kshatriyas became demoniac, then he just killed them all. He was that powerful. And Prabhupada said the ones he didn't kill, he drove out of India into Europe. Interesting. So, and this dynasty of Kartavir Arjun. Anyway, he's an incarnation of Vasudeva. But Prabhupada says he's Shaktavesh avatar, which indicates that he's Jiva, not Vishnu Tattva. Anyway, we'll see if there's more explanation. So here is the explanation of what he did. So this is just some background history to the story. When the royal dynasty, being excessively proud because of the material modes of passion and ignorance, became irreligious and ceased to care for the laws enacted by the Brahmins, Parasurama killed them. Although their offense was not very severe, he killed them to lessen the burden of the world. So let's read this. The Kshatriyas, a ruling class, must govern the world according to the rules and regulations enacted by great Brahmins and saintly persons. As soon as the ruling class becomes irresponsible in regard to religious principles, it becomes a burden on the earth. As stated here, rajas tamo britam bharam abhramanyam. When the ruling class is influenced by the lower modes of nature, namely ignorance and passion, it becomes a burden to the world and must then be annihilated by superior power. We actually see from modern history that monarchies have been abolished by various revolutions. But unfortunately, the monarchies have been abolished to establish the supremacy of third and fourth class men. Although monarchies overpowered by the modes of passion and ignorance have been abolished in the world, the inhabitants of the world are still unhappy. For although the qualities of the former monarchs were degraded by taints of ignorance, these monarchs have been replaced by men of the mercantile and working class, whose qualities are even more degraded. So Prabhupada's saying, yes, the present democratic system is worse. Of course, democracy was a revolt against monarchy because monarchs became corrupted. But it appears that Prabhupada's saying, or it doesn't appear, he is saying that the democratic leaders are more corrupted or less able to help the world. Like sometimes you have a corrupt leader, personally corrupt, but he's actually a good leader. So, he may not be by character a great person, but he's not bad as a leader because he has some principles. Just like Jarasandha, he was a very envious person. He didn't like the Pandavas, he didn't like Krishna, he wanted to kill Krishna. But he was a Vedic king, he followed Vedic principles. The same thing, Duryodhana was a very bad person. Doesn't get much worse than Duryodhana, but as king, he wasn't so bad. So I think that's the point Prabhupada makes. Even personally, they may be atheistic, but they have some Kshatriya principles. And it appears that Prabhupada is saying the world is worse now because of the democratic system. Of course, that could be argued. We're not here to discuss it. It's a side point to the story that I want to discuss, but it's an interesting point. Brahmins controlled Kshatriyas. The Brahmins became degraded. Kshatriyas said, forget the Brahmins, why should we follow you? You're degraded. The Vaishyas said to the Kshatriyas eventually, why should we follow you? You're degraded. And so they developed a system called capitalism in which your average leader is not qualified. He's either Vaishya or, as Prabhupada's saying here, Shudra. In the previous time, when the ruling class was degraded to the mode of passion and ignorance, the Brahmins, headed by such a Kshatriya-spirited Brahmin as Parasurama, killed them. Said, okay, you're not qualified. In Kali Yuga, it is stated in Srimad Bhawatam, Dashu Prayeshu Rajeshu, the ruling class, Rajanya, will be no better than plunderers, because the third and fourth class men will monopolize the affairs of government, ignoring the religious principles and brahminical rules and regulations. They will certainly try to plunder the riches of the citizens without consideration. That refers to heavy taxing. And some future predictions here: taxes will increase. Some European countries, they're about 50% now. Socialist countries. Being unpurified, neglecting to discharge human duties properly, and being influenced by the mode of passion and ignorance, unclean people, this is a verse from Bhagwatam, leches, posing as members of the government, Rajanya Rupina, will swallow the citizens, prajaste bhakshayishanti, and still in another place, 12, 2, 7, and 8, this is Bhagwatam. Human society is naturally grouped into 4 divisions, as stated in Bhagavad Gita, but if the system is neglected and the qualities and divisions of society are not considered, the result will be that the so-called caste of Brahman, Kshatriya, Vaishya, and Shudra will be meaningless. As a result, whoever somehow or other becomes powerful will be the king or president, and thus the prajas or citizens will be so harassed that they will give up hearth and home and will go to the forest. This is a prediction. Now you imagine this. Imagine things are so bad that right now we're discussing what to do, and we're saying we should go to the forest. We should go to the forest means we should hide from the government. We should hide our money. We should just not let them know where we are, because if they find us, they'll take all our money and they'll harass us in other ways by the laws that they make. Interesting, huh? That's what the world's coming to. The prajas, or the people in general, must take to Krishna consciousness movement, Hare Krishna. The Hare Krishna movement, which is the sound incarnation of the Supreme Personality of Godhead. Kali Kale Nama Rupa Krishna Avatar. Krishna, the Supreme Personality of Godhead, has now appeared as an incarnation in His holy name. Therefore, when the prajas become Krishna conscious, they can then expect a good government and good society, a perfect life, and liberation from the bondage of material existence. In other words, what Prabhupada is saying here, or what we can understand from this, is that even to be a Shudra have some good qualities, but Shudras are not meant to rule government. And governments are being ruled by Mlechas. Mlecha means you're outside the Vedic system, so you're not Shudra, Vaishya, Kshatriya, or Brahman. So you should be a Kshatriya. If you degrade to a Vaishya, then you'll get rid of the Kshatriyas, you'll get rid of monarchy, and you'll establish democracy. And if you become Shudra, you'll establish communism, which means, or some autocracy. That's not descended from monarchy. You'll assume power somehow or other, and you'll create a mess in one way or another, at least relative to what a proper monarchy would create. And but now we don't have people who are even qualified Shudra. Shudra would not be the right person for a leader of government. But we have less than Shudra. So what Prabhupada is saying is making an interesting point. Like we complain in America, our President Donald Trump has the lowest approval rating of any president, I think, in the history, or at least in modern history. People don't like him. But unfortunately, we have a democratic system, unfortunately, so people voted for him. So what to do? That's the way the system works. So Prabhupada's saying, if we can make people Krishna conscious, then what's going to happen is they'll vote for Krishna conscious leaders. And so we solve this problem. So everyone, if you don't like President Trump, fly over to America and start preaching to the people that we need Krishna conscious leadership. And that way we can avoid any kind of disaster. We haven't had the greatest presidents. We've had presidents with so many of, I don't know if you know this, some insider secrets. We've had presidents who are gay, presidents who had affairs. Very common for U.S. presidents to have had affairs. Clinton is not the only one who had an affair. Many presidents had affairs, even with men. So this is, they're supposed to be emblems of purity and not emblems of unchastity. And one of our presidents was doing illegal things. Many of the presidents were not really good guys, but the democratic system somehow voted for them. So King Parikshit inquires from Sukadeva Goswami's text 16, what was the offense that the Kshatriyas, who could not control their senses, committed before Lord Parasurama, the incarnation of the personality of Godhead, for which the Lord annihilated the Kshatriyas? In other words, Parasurama annihilated the Kshatriyas, and so Parikshit Maharaj is asking, why did he do that? What offense did they make that warranted their annihilation? The best of the Kshatriyas, Kartavirarjuna, king of the Hayas, received 1,000 arms by worshipping Tadatreya, the plenary expansion of the personality of Godhead. Narayan, he also became undefeatable by enemies and received unobstructed sensory power, beauty, influence, strength, fame, and mystic power by which to achieve all the perfections of yoga, such as anima and lagima. Thus, having become fully opulent, he roamed all over the universe without opposition. Let's see what happens. It's getting exciting. Once while enjoying in the water of the river Narmada, the puffed-up Kartavirarjuna, surrounded by beautiful women and garlanded with a garland of victory, stopped the flow of water with his arm. So he was having fun. Because Kartavirarjuna made the water flow in the opposite direction, the camp of Ravana, which was set up on the bank of the Narmada, near the city of Mahishnati, was inundated. This was unbearable to the 10-headed Ravana, who considered himself a great hero and could not tolerate Kartavirarjuna's power. Wow, look what's going on here. The two Kshatriyas are not going to be happy with one another. Ravana was out touring to gain victory over all countries. It's called Digvijaya. This was what kings do in those days. And he had camped on the bank of the Narmada near the city of Mahishmati. When Ravana attempted to insult Kartavirarjuna in the presence of the women and thus offended him, Kartavirarjuna easily arrested Ravana and put him in custody. Put him in custody in the city of Mahishmati, just as one captures a monkey, and then released him neglectfully. I guess he captured him and let him go. Once while Kartavirarjuna was wandering unengaged in a solitary forest and hunting, he approached the residence of Jamadagani. Okay, so this text, now we're getting close to what's happening. Kartavirarjuna had no business going to the residence of Jamadagani, but because he was puffed up by his extraordinary power, he went there and offended Parasurama. Not a good person to offend. This was the prelude to his being killed by Parasurama for his offensive act. The sage Jamadagni, who was engaged in great austerities in the forest, received the king very well, along with the king's soldiers, ministers, and carriers. So kings, they know etiquette, so he received him well. He supplied all the necessities to worship these guests, for he possessed a Kamadhenu cow that was able to supply everything. So this story now that I want to read about forgiveness that Parasurama is going to have to ask for, he actually kills Kartavirarjuna. I believe he kills him and his associates. Let's read on. Let's read about this cow. You know, I don't know if you're aware of this, but some cows, they have so much affection for the owners of the cows that sometimes they give milk when they're not pregnant. It's kind of like a little Kamadhenu. The Brahma Samhita informs us that in the spiritual world, and especially the planet of Goloka Vrindavan, where Krishna lives, is full of Surabhi cows. Surabhi abhyali. Surabhi Rabi Phalayantam. Rabi Phalayantam. Surabhi cow is also called Kamadhenu. Although Jamadagni possessed only one Kamadhenu, he was able to get from it everything desirable. Whatever he needed to feed them, he got from this cow. Thus he was able to receive the king, along with the king's great number of followers, ministers, soldiers, animals, and palanquin carriers. Amazing, huh? Well, this cow, you tell the cow what you want, and he gives it to you, you would like a cow like that, wouldn't you? I think for us it would be dangerous. We might ask for the wrong thing. And that thing we asked for could entangle us. And therefore it is said, be happy that God doesn't fulfill all your desires because it could be a mess. Yes? When we speak of a king, we understand that he is accompanied by many followers. Jamadagni was able to receive all the king's followers properly and feed them sumptuously with food prepared in ghee. The king was astonished at how opulent Jamadagni was because of possessing only one cow, and therefore he became envious of the great sage. That's kind of interesting, right? I mean, you know what envy is like. You're more powerful. You have something I don't have, and I want to be the most powerful person, so I don't like you. That's the nature of envy. In other words, you may be a nice person. Jamadagni is a sadhu, he's a Brahmin, all good qualities, but Kartavir Arjuna doesn't like him for the sole reason that he has something that gives him powers that Kartavir Arjuna, or gives him facility that Kartavir Arjuna doesn't have. And so that upset Kartavir Arjuna, and he was setting his sights on this cow, thinking, I'd like to have a cow like this. So the king was astonished at how opulent Jamadagni was because of possessing only one cow, and therefore he became envious of the great sage. This was the beginning of his offense. Parasurama, the incarnation of the Supreme Personality of Godhead, killed Kartavir Arjuna because Kartavir Arjuna was too proud. Wow. Killed him because he was proud. One may possess unusual opulence in this material world, but if one becomes puffed up and acts whimsically, he will be punished by the Supreme Personality of Godhead. This is the lesson to learn from this history in which Parasurama became angry with Kartavir Arjuna and killed him, and rid the entire world of Kshatriyas. Okay, you Kshatriyas, you're all you. Well, Vinashaya chaduskritam. Sometimes Krishna does that. And you may have thought sometimes in your mind that, there's some very demoniac person like Hitler causing great pain to innocent people. You may have thought in your mind, it would be good if they were killed, because then they would stop harassing people. That thought may go through our mind. Of course, we're devotees, so we wouldn't. But you might think, some Kshatriyas should kill this person. This person is killing other people or causing other people to suffer. He should be stopped. Better, sacrifice a person to save. Oh, that's what Parasurama was thinking. Parasurama was thinking. We can't let this Kartavir Arjuna live. He's a bad guy, and he's going to create problems. So that's what he did. Kartavir Arjuna thought that Jamadagni was more powerful and wealthy than himself because of possessing a jewel in the form of the Kamadhenu. Therefore, he and his own men, the Hayas, were not very much appreciative of Jamadagni's reception. He takes care of them, but they don't like him because he has a cow that makes them so powerful. On the contrary, they wanted to possess that Kamadhenu, which was useful for the execution of the Agnihotri sacrifice. So, I believe the way this story is unfolding, Kartavir Arjuna had not been killed yet. It comes later. Jamadagni was more powerful than Kartavir Arjuna because of performing the Agnihotra Yagya with clarified butter received from the Kamadhenu. So Kartavir Arjuna wants to rule the world, and he's finding Jamadagni is more powerful. He doesn't like that. Not everyone can be expected to possess such a cow. Nonetheless, an ordinary man may possess an ordinary cow, give protection to this animal, take sufficient milk, and engage the milk to produce butter and ghee, especially for performing the Agnihotra. Agnihotra is the yagyas. Use ghee in the fire for the yagya. This is possible for everyone. We find in Gita, Krishna advises, Go Raksha, protect the cows. This is essential. If cows are cared for, they will supply sufficient milk. We have experience in America than our ISKCON farms. We're giving protection to the cows, receiving more than enough milk. In other farms, the cows do not deliver as much milk as in our farms, because our cows know very well they're not going to be killed, they're happy, they give ample milk. Therefore, this instruction given by Lord Krishna, Go Raksha, is extremely meaningful. The whole world must learn from Krishna to live happily without scarcity, simply by producing food grains and giving protection to the cows. I was just listened to this amazing, I posted this on Facebook, this amazing talk from a member of parliament who was retiring in New Zealand. He was a young man, but he gave up on the political system because it wasn't working. And he was a Rasta, dreadlocks and everything in the parliament. And he said something very interesting. He said, the way we're living is unsustainable, which we know. It's not, we can't live this way. The economy can't, the earth can't bear it, the economy can't bear it. So Prabhupada's saying, yes, this is, you want opulence? Get some cows and land, you'll be opulent. This is the injunction of the Gita. Protect the cows, keep land for producing grains. In the matter of protecting cows, the meat eaters will protest, but in answer to them, we may say that since Krishna gives stress to cow protection, those who are inclined to eat meat may eat the flesh of unimportant animals like hogs, dogs, goats, and sheep, but they should not touch the life of the cows, for this is destructive for the spiritual advancement of human society. Prabhupada said, really want to eat cows, let them just die, eat them then. So one point I'd like to make is Prabhupada's telling a story, and the story is about the story is the Kamadhenu cow, which Kartavirarjuna is envious of and wants, and he's going to steal it. And then Prabhupada in his purport focuses on the importance of the cow, based on the fact that this Kamadhenu cow was giving them everything they needed. So of course it's a Sarabi cow, spiritual world cow. We don't have those cows, but still the cow will give us milk products, and especially ghee, and ghee is needed for sacrifice. And then the land will give us, the bull will plow, and we'll be happy. Easier said than done, right? But that's the principle. Being puffed up by material power, Kartavirarjuna encouraged his men to steal Jamadagni's Kamadhenu. Wow. So you can see Kartavirarjuna is like, what's the word? We use the word bully. I'm not using the word bully. What's the word? Harassing. Yeah, he just thinks like a terrorist. He can just do whatever he wants. Right? Being puffed up by material power, Kartavirarjuna encouraged his men to steal Jamadagni's Kamadhenu. All right, who cares he's a Brahmin? You know, stealing from a Brahmin, you don't want to steal from a Brahmin. If you really have to steal, make sure it's not from a Brahmin. Stealing from a Brahmin is very sinful and you will suffer greatly. Of course, we're not recommending you steal, but some people are addicted to stealing. They can't stop themselves. If that's the case, well, you don't have to worry, there are not that many Brahmins around, but just make sure. Not from a devotee or a Brahmin. You don't want to steal from a devotee or Brahmin. Now you're thinking, why am I saying this? Well, ladies and gentlemen, in some countries, stealing is kind of normal. Believe it or not, it's just the way it is. And people actually steal from their friends. You go to their house, you see they have something nice, and you just steal it. Wow, unbelievable. That's the culture. Do devotees do that? Yeah, I've seen it. And you're thinking, how can a devotee do that? Because that's the culture. It shows the power of culture. So that's why I'm saying, if you have to steal, don't steal from a devotee. I mean, don't steal from anybody, but... Being puffed up by material power, he encouraged his men to steal Jamadagni's Kamadhenu. Thus the men forcibly took away the crying Kamadhenu along with her calf to Mahishmati, Kartavirarjuna's capital. See, he hasn't been killed yet. He's going to get killed later. The word Havir Dhanim is significant in this verse. Havir Dhanim refers to a cow required for supplying havis, or ghee, for the performance of ritualistic ceremonies. Ghee is so important that Prabhupada named one of his disciples Havi Das. But Havi Must have been another personality, but we joke with Havi, the servant of ghee. Ghee servant, Havi does. As we are informed in Bhagavad Gita, yagyartat kamanon yatra, this is 3.9, lokoyam karma bandhana, if we do not perform yagya, we shall simply work very hard for sense gratification like dogs and hogs. You do yagya, you appease the demigods, you appease Vishnu, automatically demigods are appeased. Everything good comes from that. But it's so interesting what Prabhupada's saying here. Did you hear this? If you don't do yagya, then you have to work like an ass. Is that what I just read? If we do not perform yagya, we shall work very hard like dogs and hogs. Okay, not like an ass, like a dog and a hog. This is not civilization. In other words, we're going to open factories and dig the earth, mines and this and that. As you do yagya, everything comes up. You don't even need mines. And you get what you need and you're happy, and you don't need big factories to produce all these things that we don't need. Then you have to work at these hellish jobs. You know, this devotee was asking me, should I go back to college? She has a BA, and we're talking. And I said, one thing we want to understand about university is that they prepare you. That's the function of university, is preparing you to get a job. So it's preparing you for, in many cases, a very hellish life, and often you'll find out that the job you have is not something you really like. You might think, oh, I'll get prepared for this job, I'll like it, and then you don't, or you don't like the city you have to live in to work that job, or you don't like the hours, or you don't like your boss. So, you know, Prabhupada's saying, you know, we work like dogs and hogs in university. For many people, it just prepares them to work in a job that's going to drive them crazy and make them work really hard. If yagyas are regularly performed, there will be proper rain from the sky, and when there is regular rainfall, the land will be fertile, or you might say fertile, and suitable for producing all the necessities of life. Isn't that amazing? You'll get fertile land. Why? Because you'll get rain. You can create rain. Like the American Indians used to do rain dances to appease the gods, to give rain. For performing yagya, if we neglect the Vedic way of civilization, we shall certainly suffer. So-called scholars and philosophers do not know the secret of success in life. Therefore, they suffer in the hands of Prakriti, nature. You know, in Parliament or in Congress in America, they're making legislation, but they have no idea how material nature actually works. If they understood how material nature works, they would pass different legislation. Yes? Although they are forced to suffer, they think they're advancing in civilization. The Krishna conscious movement is therefore meant to revive a mode of civilization in which everyone will be happy. This is the motive of our Krishna conscious movement. Yagye sukhena bhavantu. Yes, the devotee wants to make everybody happy. The devotee is not so worried about their happiness. So we're going to take one question or comment, because it's about leaders, and we were talking about leaders. When a leader is elected, there is some identification with him. And Kali Yuga leaders are reflecting the behavior of the people, how to become leaders of such a society. When people with principles have tried to reach positions of power are almost destroyed by opponents. Yeah. We had a political party. At some time, the party was abandoned when it didn't look like. Well, Prabhupada said we just use it as a preaching platform, so you can run as a leader as a preaching platform. But Prabhupada's point is, until people are Krishna conscious, why would they vote for a Krishna conscious leader? They probably wouldn't. So, you know, if we can spread Krishna consciousness, then they'll vote for a Krishna conscious leader. Otherwise, it's a dirty profession. But it may come to pass someday, and it already has come to pass, because one devotee is a member of the House of Representatives from Hawaii, so it's already happened. She made it somehow or other. So Hawaii maybe is a special place where people want an alternative leader. Krishna question is, what about Agnihotra and fire sacrifice? Some of the devotees like to do them. Generally, we do Agnihotra when there's a marriage, when there's initiation, there's some samskar. First evening of grains, you might do it then. Moving into a new home, you might do it. It's okay, but the real thing is kirtan. It's not, if you can do both, but it's not. But I don't know where Prabhupada recommended that. We should go around doing Agnihotras everywhere. It's nice. They used to do in Gurukul and Mayapur every day. I think maybe they still do every day. If it can be done, but the real thing is Harinam, as you already know. Okay. We did Agnihotra and Janmashtami in Alachua, and chanting the names of Vishnu and offer it. It's beautiful, for sure. Okay, let's get. I'm trying to get to the story. Actually what happened. Kadava Arjuna, having left with the Kamadena, Parasurama returned to the ashram. Parasurama, the son of Jamadagani, heard about Kadava Arjuna's nefarious deed and became angry as a trampled snake. So, apparently, the way the story goes, Jamadagani was not there. Is it? Excuse me. Parasurama is not there. Because it says, let's see. So, Parasurama is not there. Okay, so this makes sense. Thereafter, Kartava Arjuna, having left with the Kamadena, Parasurama returned to the ashram. When Parasurama, the youngest son of Jamadagani, heard about Kartava Arjuna's nefarious deed, he became as angry as a trampled snake. So he was predicted he would be a fierce Kshatriya. Obviously, he had driven the Kshatris out of India, either killed them or driven them out. So, yes. Too much noise? Less noise? Krishna Krishna Hare Hare. If there's still too much noise, I don't know what. Oops, supposed to go the other way. How about this? Is that better? How about now? How's the sound now? Could be an internet problem, but internet gets weak. Let me know how the sound is now. Did it just get bad all of a sudden? If it wasn't bad when I started, then it's an internet problem. If it was bad when I started, then we can correct that. So it's good now? Okay. So here's the part of the story that I actually wanted to read. So he's got this Kshatriya spirit. Yeah, it's better. Okay. So, taking up his fierce chopper. You ever seen pictures of Parasurama? He has a chopper, which is, it's kind of shaped like this, like a little bit like moon shape. It's like if you took a rectangle and then cut out moon from a piece and then filed it down as thin metal. It'd be like a blade, kind of like a huge razor blade with a little. What do we call this? There's a word for that, and I can't think of the word. What's the word for that? Semicircle, half circle. It got bad all of a sudden. Oh yeah, that was internet problem. Okay. Taking up his fierce chopper, his shield, his bow, and quiver of arrows, Lord Parasurama, exceedingly angry, chased Kartava Arjuna, just as a lion chases an elephant. And to be noted, which you already know, that in these times, when Kshatriyas fought, they actually fought. They didn't tell other people to fight, and they didn't drive around in cannons or airplanes, sometimes airplanes, but generally they fought. Well, even if it was airplane, they fought. They didn't tell other people to fight. It was more, they fought personally. That was like, the Kshatriya wouldn't like hide behind somebody and tell someone else to fight. As Kartavya Arjuna entered his capital, Mahishmatipuri, he saw Lord Parasurama, the best of the Brigadier dynasty, coming after him holding a chopper. Shield, bow, and arrows. Now, we remember how powerful Kartavya Arjuna is. 1,000 arms, He's one powerful person. And Lord Parasurama is like, forget you. Crescent, yeah. Crescent, that's the word. Thank you. Thank you, Priya. Yeah. He saw Parasurama. As Kartavya Arjuna entered the capital, he saw Parasurama, the best of the Brigadier dynasty, coming after him, holding a chopper, shield, bow, and arrows. Lord Parasurama was covered with a black deer skin, and his matted locks of hair appeared like the sunshine. Wow. That means he must have had blonde hair, right? So he's ready to fight. He's fully equipped. Upon seeing Parasurama, Kartavya Arjuna immediately feared him. That's amazing. Kartavya Arjuna is this hugely powerful person, and he sees Parasurama. Wow, and he's afraid of him. And sent many elephants, chariots, horses, and infantry soldiers equipped with clubs, swords, arrows, rishtis, whatever that is, shatagnis, saktis, and many other weapons to fight against him. Kartavya Arjuna sent 17 full Akshohini divisions of soldiers to check Parasurama. But Lord Parasurama killed alone all of them. Akshohini is how much? It's in the purport. Akshohini refers to a military phalanx of 21,870 chariots and 109,350 infantry soldiers and 65,610 horses. Did you memorize that? I'll just round it off. 21,000. Okay, he's facing 21,000 elephants, chariots and elephants. Okay, imagine that. Just try to picture in your mind 21,000 chariots, if you could. That's like, where could you fit 21,000 chariots? You'd need a pretty big area. But you have 21,000 chariots and elephants, and behind them 110,000 soldiers, and then coming up behind them 65,000 soldiers. 65,000 horses, and obviously someone's riding, so there must be 65,000 men on the horses. So that gives us a grand total of almost 200,000 men. And what does it say here? There were 17 of those. Do the math. That's like, what? How many is that? Like a billion? Who can do the math? 200,000 times 17. In your head, what is it? I can't do it in my head. What's wrong with me? Times 10 would be 2 million. No, so it's what is it, like 3,400,000, something like that? Anyway, it was a lot. Now you're thinking, oh, this is all fantasy, this, that, and the next thing. Anyway, it actually happened. It's true. And just see how he's an incarnation of Krishna, so he can kill like millions of people, like boom. Right? So, somebody can give me the number? 200,000 times 17? 200,000 times 10 would be 2 million. 200,000 times 7 would be 1,400,000, so it should be 3,400,000, right? Is that correct? Can someone confirm that? Okay. That's what he's fighting. And so a description is given in Mahabharata. Prabhupada quotes the verse. And anyway, it's an explanation, so I won't read it. It's an explanation of the numbers of an Akshohini. Lord Parasurama, being expert in killing the military strength of the enemy, worked with the speed of the mind and the wind, slicing his enemies with his chopper. The speed of the wind and the mind, well, the mind's faster. So basically, it's kind of like 3,400,000. Yeah, so I was right. See, I don't need a calculator. So, with the speed of mind, basically, it was just like his chopper just like in nanoseconds, hundreds of thousands are being killed. It was quite a scene. Quite a scene for a movie, also. The speed of the mind, he was working his chopper, slicing his enemies with his chopper. Wherever he went, the enemies fell, their legs, arms, and shoulders being severed, their chariot drivers killed, their carriers, the elephants, and all horses annihilated. Amazing, huh? So in the purport it says, speed of the mind and speed of the wind. And the speed of the wind was, he slowed down. He got a little tired, so it was only speed of the wind. By manipulating his axe and arrows, Lord Parasurama cut to pieces the shields, flags, bows, and bodies of Kartavya Arjuna's soldiers, who fell on the battlefield, muddying the ground with their blood. Seeing these reverses, Kartavya Arjuna, infuriated, rushed to the battlefield. Okay, now it gets exciting. Then Kartavya Arjuna, with 1,000 arms, simultaneously fixed arrows on 500 bows to kill Parasurama. But Parasurama, the best of the fighters, released enough arrows with only one bow to cut to pieces immediately all the arrows and bows in the hand of Kartavya Arjuna. They try to figure that out. Kartavya Arjuna shoots 500 arrows, and he, with one bow, destroyed all those arrows. When his arrows were cut to pieces, Kartavya Arjuna uprooted many trees and hills with his own hands, and again rushed strongly. So these people were strong. Just get a tree and uproot it and use that to fight. You think this is all stories. No, they're actually that strong. But Parasurama then used his axe with great force to cut off Kartavya Arjuna's arms. So even he had this big tree, couldn't do anything. Just as one might lop off the hoods of a serpent. Thereafter, Parasurama cut off, like a mountain peak, the head of Kartavya Arjuna, who had already lost his arms. So, yeah. First he cut his arms off. So now he can't really fight. Then he cut off his head. When Kartavya Arjuna's 10,000 sons saw their father killed, they all fled in fear. Then Parasurama, having killed the enemy, released the Kamadhenu, which had undergone great suffering, and brought it back with its calf to his nescience. So, to his residence, where his father Jamadagani was. So, I actually wanted to talk about the story from this point, but I really wanted to read what was happening behind the scenes. And now, this is from the point where I actually wanted to talk, so I might say something other than just read it. And I know a lot of you are bored because I'm just reading and you want me to talk. But Bhagwatam is sweet, even when people are being killed. Parasurama described to his father and brothers his activities in killing Kartavya Arjuna. Upon hearing of these deeds, Jamadagani spoke to his son as follows: Listen, everyone. Here are important instructions. O great hero, my dear son, Parasurama, you have unnecessarily killed the king who is supposed to be the embodiment of all the demigods. Thus you have committed a sin. So even though he had stolen the Kamadhenu, his father Jamadagani is saying there's no reason to kill him. And even though he's, whatever he is, he's the king and we should respect the king. There's etiquette and it's a sin to kill the king. And all he did was a minor crime to you and was not worthy of killing him. So he chastised him. Here's the verse, everyone. Listen, this was the reason that we read this story. At least my reason for reading the story was to discuss this verse. My dear son, we are all brahmanas and have become worshipable for the people in general because of our quality of forgiveness. It is because of this quality that Lord Brahma, the supreme spiritual master of this universe, has achieved his post. So he's saying, we're Brahmins. As Brahmins, we become worshipable by our Brahminical qualities, one of which is forgiveness, or primarily the prime quality of the Brahmins is forgiveness. And just so you understand how powerful forgiveness is, this is how Lord Brahma has achieved his post, through forgiveness. Women don't like killing stories. Yeah, this is kind of a bloody story. Now you're going to have nightmares, right? But anyway, let's focus on this. Next verse. The duty of a Brahmana is to culture the quality of forgiveness, which is illuminating like the sun. The Supreme Personality of Godhead, Hari, is pleased with those who are forgiving. So Jamadagani is saying, you're born in the family of Brahmins. As Brahmins, we forgive. And it's our duty. So no matter what they do, it's our duty to forgive. That's the quality of a Brahmin. Now, we are all trying, you may be initiated as a Brahmin or not, but we are cultivating the qualities of Brahminical qualities. These are the sattvic qualities. So we're all within the culture of Brahmins. Vaishnava culture is even beyond Brahminical culture, so it includes Brahminical culture. So, as he said earlier, the first quality, prime quality, or Prabhupada said, or the main quality of the Brahmins is to forgive. And here he says, it's the duty of the Brahmins. It's their main quality, it's their duty. And Krishna is pleased. And so in the purport, Prabhupada is quoting Chanakya Pandit, and Chanakya Pandit says, a cuckoo bird is black, but it's beautiful from its sweet voice, and a woman becomes beautiful by her chastity and faithfulness. An ugly person becomes beautiful when he becomes a learned scholar. In the same way, Brahmins, Kshatriyas, Vaishyas, and Sudras become beautiful by their qualities. Brahmins are beautiful when they are forgiving. Kshatriyas when they are heroic and never retreat from fighting. Vaishyas when they enrich cultural activities and protect cows, and Shudras when they are faithful in the discharge of their duties. My dear son, killing a king who's an emperor is more severely sinful than killing a Brahmin. Wow. But now if you become Krishna conscious and worship the holy places, you can atone for this great sin. So, surrender to Krishna, atone for the sin. So, this, as you can see, the reason for reading this story is to point out how Jamadagni as a Brahmin was not pleased, even though Kartavira Arjuna was not, in a sense, worthy to be killed, but not killed for that crime, and more so as Brahmins. Brahmins are forgiving. That's their quality. You might say, well, the Brahmins ordered Maharaj Venu to be killed because he was creating havoc for people, and it was the duty of the Brahmins to order him to be killed. But here, this was not the case. So, ladies and gentlemen, we are all cultivating Brahminical qualities. You may say, no, I'm not a Brahmin. Well, Prabhupada said, Krishna consciousness is meant, the Krishna conscious movement is meant to bring people from wherever they're at, eventually to become Brahmins. Because Brahmins, not that we're confined to Varnashram or confined to be Brahmins, but Brahminical qualities. So we're meant to purify people so we can develop Brahminical qualities, the foremost of which is being described here as forgiveness. And so if we want to be Krishna conscious, we have to cultivate Brahminical qualities. Sometimes we're envious, we're jealous, we're angry, we're resentful, whatever it is. These qualities are symptomatic of the modes of ignorance, or maybe a little passion. And so they bind us to passion and ignorance. If we allow ourselves to be controlled by qualities which are of the nature of ignorance, or ignorance and passion, we can't be Krishna conscious. We have to be sattvic as a foundation for transcendence. So Brahmins are sattvic, and so we all need to be sattvic, whether we're initiated as Brahmins or not. And so that's the point of this story. Forgiveness is one sattvic quality. There may be many sattvic qualities we need to develop, but Jamadagni is telling his son, this is foremost. You can't, he's basically saying, you can't be a Brahmin if you're not forgiving. This is the foremost quality of the Brahmin. This is how Lord Brahma himself attained his post. Through forgiveness. I don't know the story of Lord Brahma, but This is how he became powerful. So if we exist in Sattva-gun, we become powerful. That idea is there also. So, I'm going to go back. You had some comments somewhere, and I may miss. Got bad all of a sudden. Yeah, it must be bad internet connection. I've heard that Prabhupada said that real wealth is cows and land, because cows represent Krishna, land represents Balaram. There's many ISKCON temples around the world, but few farms. How do we... Oh, the answer is easy. Whenever you say, how do we, the answer is do it. How do we educate devotees about the importance of cow protection and having our own farms? You don't need to educate, you just need to do it. Education in this area will not be as valuable as doing it. So if you believe in it, get out there, Karuna Shakti, and buy some land and get some cows and do it. And convince some devotees to join you. And show them how happy you are with the cows and how opulent you are with the cows in the land. You look at society in general, and we're no different in ISKCON, and you want to, the best way to teach and enthuse people is to do it. Like by Sheshika Prabhu, how does he teach book distribution? Well, he goes and teaches it, but everybody goes out, and he goes out with everybody, and that's how they learn, and they have a good time, they have fun distributing books. So you got to do it, there's nothing better than doing it. Or support someone that wants to do it. When you get money, you can tell someone who wants to do it, I'll buy the cows for you, I'll help you purchase the land. Of course. How to do it practically, I can't tell you because I've never done it, but I can tell you one thing: learn from those who have done it. If you want to be successful, find someone who's done it and learn from them. Especially something difficult like this, because becoming self-sufficient requires land in the right place. I think you could do it in South Africa, in the warmer climates of South Africa. It's harder in colder climates. And there's obstacles, but Prabhupada wants us to do it, so we have to figure out how to do it. Krishna Karshani says, thinking of Parasurama, I thought about another killing incarnation, Kalki. He is predicted to come, kill the end of Kali Yuga. Maybe it's a bit out of topic, but if Krishna is killing someone, what happens to them? If Krishna is killing someone, this person is delivered, so it means that all the most fallen of Kali Yuga will be delivered? No, not necessarily. You have to have some appreciation of Krishna to be delivered. It's not guaranteed that everyone killed by Krishna. Because everything's so sinful, Kali Yuga has to end, so Kalki comes and ends Kali Yuga. But Kalki ends it, but it doesn't mean necessarily they'll be delivered. Krishna Karshani doesn't like killing stories. Yeah, especially this one is very bloody. Himena likes killing stories. She's a woman. So, yeah, we're all different. You mentioned the class in the Sunday feast that to obtain bhakti you need three qualities. One is forgiveness. What are the others? Compassion and tolerance. Compassion and humility. Which is the bibliography? Jaiva Dharma by Bhaktivinoda Thakur. It is said you need compassion and humility. If you have those, then you'll have forgiveness. Maybe it sounds controversial, but if we cannot protect cows, we should become vegan. Yeah, it is controversial. That's a huge topic. Yeah, I think it's better. Yeah. Yeah, we need to think about protecting cows. And that is, of course, one of the missions of the Krishna conscious movement, and there are devotees very concerned about it, but because society has veered away in general from agriculture, and everyone's leaving the farms, and most of us are not educated or don't have experience in taking care of cows and living off the land. So, we're a few hundred years, I think about 100, 150 years ago, we could do it. We would know how to do it. That's what people did. Like when European explorers were exploring America and the West Indies and so forth, they have to land and they have to figure out, they have to start growing food. They bring something with them, but it's a small supply. They have to build homes and shelters and grow food. And, they don't all make it through the first winter if they're not together. So you can imagine being dropped off in a country that gets cold in the winter and you have to figure out how to live. We don't know how to do that. So it's it's something that's a challenge. We have to learn it we have to learn this from communities that know how to do it. So, being vegan, that's a choice. Some devotees feel like you do, and some devotees don't feel like you do, and they have their various reasons. And so it's a personal choice. I've heard very learned discussions on both sides, but the uniting answer to this dilemma is protect cows, and then only drink milk from protected cows. And next best thing is take milk from cows who are not protected, offer it to Krishna. If everyone were vegan, there would be no cows. So you wouldn't be protecting cows. That's the argument. Think about it. If everyone's vegan, there's no need for cows. So either they would kill all the cows off, let all the cows die, separate the bulls from the cows, and there would be no more cows. And so we would never get any ghee. There'd be no more milk products and ghee. So if that is what you consider protecting cows by not having cows, then there wouldn't be any cows to protect. That's the problem. So, and there would be no ghee for sacrifice. So now what do? There's no cows, because everyone's vegan. It's the supply and demand. If nobody, is there a company that makes typewriters? Could you buy a brand new typewriter now? I don't know if you can, but if you can, it's going to be an obscure company. And it might be a movement for typewriters, so you can write without being bothered by the internet or something. But, a product, if there's no demand, there's no need to make it. So there'll be no need for cows. Well, there'll be a need for meat, but if everyone's vegan, then there's no need for meat either. So there's no need for meat for cows. So cows become extinct. Now we have no butter. We have no yogurt. We have no ghee. We have no milk. So now what do? So we need cows for our yajnas. So if we're not raising our own cows, we have to take milk at least for worshiping the deities. And so the argument is that at least the cows will benefit because it's used for the deities. And in Kali Yuga, everything is contaminated. But for you personally, you may feel, I don't want to support the slaughter of these cows. And so, of course, you may make that decision. That's better not to take milk products. Because you can make the argument that by taking milk products indirectly, we're supporting the killing of that cow. Okay, Krishna Maya has a question. That's the son of Guru Nishta. At the end of Kali Yuga, after Lord Kalki has appeared and all creation is destroyed, all souls that have gone back to God, they all go back now. Sat Yuga begins. They get to take birth in Sat Yuga. That's a blessing. No. I've never read any description that they go back to Godhead. And Prabhupada says that in battlefield of Kurukshetra, if they were killed by Krishna and they appreciated Krishna's beauty, they saw him, they could understand something about Krishna, they understood his position, they would be liberated. We actually discussed this yesterday or day before in Alachua, that not all of them were liberated. because they require to understand Krishna. Like what happened to Hiranyakashipu and Hiranyaksha. They weren't liberated, they were killed by Krishna. Of course, you can say, well, they were destined to take 3 births, but it sets in the standard that not everyone killed by Krishna is liberated. There has to be some understanding of Krishna. So, you allow me to end here so I have to leave in like 4 hours. Is that okay? Thank you very much. And we'll try to broadcast some of the classes we do. I don't know the exact schedule. But we'll broadcast some of the classes we do in Europe as far as possible. Okay. Thank you very much. Srila Prabhupada ki jai. Go Premanandi.